Stay tuned, a little bit later I'll be making the biggest mistake I've ever made in a video. Hi, it's Dia. Today I'm taking this set of 24 Crayola Twistable Crayons and I'm going to review them. Now, they also make a set of twistable colored pencils, but they are not the same. First thing, as you can see, they are thick, they are unsharpened, and like the name says, they twist up from the bottom. The colors look very nice, and I was wondering if they were going to be the same as the good old Crayola crayons that we used when we were kids. Straight off the bat, I went to look for the yellow color. Oops, sorry, that picture that I'm going to use is from Everyday Magic, my coloring book. And look at the color yellow that is in the box. I was wondering, did they actually forget the yellow? So I counted. I just wanted to make sure there was actually 24 crayons in there. And there was, but as you can see, it definitely was not yellow. It was more like the color in the Crayola set called macaroni and cheese. So I wanted a pretty pure yellow because I wanted to make the moon reflections on the boy and on the plants. And I started to use the yellow, didn't match, and it wasn't my cup of tea to use it so dull. So I picked up the Cume pencil sharpener, rolled it up a little bit, meaning I twisted up the crayon, and I sharpened it. And instantly it felt much better to use. So first thing I did was, like I said, put the yellow where the highlights would be. And I realized these crayons are pretty smooth. So I decided, let me check this color. Okay, as you can see, there was no fallout. So picked up the macaroni and cheese color from the crayon box, and I just wanted to compare it. As you can see, the crayon from the box left all kinds of fallout, and the other did not. So I proceeded to sharpen all 24, and I did save those shavings. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but look how nice. Much more appealing in my humble opinion. So I couldn't wait to get to it now. So like I was saying before, these weird little crayons are really smooth. I was really enjoying using them. They feel creamy. They feel relatively soft, so they don't hold a point like a pencil would. But sharpening them gave me enough of a point, even though I had to go back and do it often, that I was able to get some pretty decent detail. I also found out by using these in this video for some reason, I don't know why it just hit me now, that when I start a picture, I'm kind of doing a bunch of little experiments. I don't know what the colors are going to look like. I don't know I don't know how the colors are going to interact with the actual image itself. If it's a set that I've used more often, or it's a medium that I've used more, I'm probably not as tentative, but you can see me going back and forth here. Yes, I did have a plan, but I didn't know exactly how it was going to work. So I did a little bit of the vine, I did a little bit of the leaves, I did a little bit of the boy, and I kind of went back and forth. So I think that that's kind of one of my coloring methods. And let me know if you have a coloring or an art method that you like, or that you find yourself doing unconsciously. Like I just realized I do this today. So yeah, let me know. Okay, so comparatively speaking to regular Crayola crayons, I would say these colors are more, I was going to say vibrant. They're more consistently vibrant. Some of the colors in the Crayola set. You can use them and use them and use them. You get a wax buildup and you really don't have that much color. So with these, they feel a little bit more like an oil pastel, not as intensely pigmented by any stretch of the imagination, but they were much more enjoyable to use than regular crayons. I don't know, you know what? I was just going to say, I don't know if they make a bigger set than this, but I would have enjoyed more colors. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do with this, and I was limited by the amount. Let me check. I'll be right back and see if they come in a larger set. Ooh, they do. They have a set of 50. So that would have been fun, but at this point I'm doing the 24, and maybe in the future I will review the 50 set. That was me saying hi to my dog Tina. They had in this set, I think it was 3 greens, 2 very light greens, 1 light lime, 1 sort of a light alien green or a spring green maybe, a very leaf green, and then a darker sort of forest green. So that was nice. I got to make a nice variety on the leaves. Now here, once again, I was doing a little bit of an experiment just to see if I was going to be able to use this in the future of the drawing. So I took some Turpenoid, and I just wanted to see how everything was blending, and it actually blended them pretty nicely. There wasn't as much wax buildup as with regular crayons, and I could definitely get layers. And then once, of course, I sharpened them, it was even more fun. I would have liked another brown in this set. The one that they gave was the one that you see here. It's relatively neutral, kind of like I wouldn't say a coffee color. What kind of brown is that? Like a basic chestnut brown. You know what? I take that back too. Chestnut's a little more red. I don't know, just a very neutral brown. So I did end up mixing a little bit. I added some of that light yellowish, that strange yellow color into the vine, even though it was only supposed to be for the highlight. It was limited, so I mixed it in, and I also used black because of the limited browns. There was gray, I used that too, but the gray is the lightest gray you can imagine on the earth, so it wasn't great for the vine. Now here's all the different color greens. I used them on the pea pods, on the thinner part of the plant, kind of part of the vine that's attached to the leaves. Yeah, so I had no complaints with the greens. And the consistency of the feel of the colors was there. Unlike the Crayola crayons, the regular crayons themselves, those are a little bit inconsistent. Some of the colors are great, they're pigmented, they feel good, and some of them are very, very waxy and sticky. Now you can see that I have several layers and the colors are still showing up. Here's that same brown again. I was trying to get like a golden brown hair, so I mixed it with a very tiny bit of Turpenoid, and it worked. I just sort of pulled the brown across the hair, and it worked to make it look like a lighter brown. That's the peachy light tone. You can see that sharpener again. I'll put all this information in the info box below. You can see they sharpen actually really nice. So what would the texture be like? Not that waxy feel. I don't know if I have anything to compare it to. Let me think about that for a sec. I don't know if any of you have used Neo colors, but they're a water-soluble crayon that I've used, And they're kind of similar to that. They're not as intense, but it's got that real silky smooth feel. I like these. These are really fun. And if I had to pick, even though the biggest set that I've seen at this point is the 50, and the Crayola set goes up to 150, meaning the regular Crayola crayons, I think I would pick this. I just enjoyed using it so much more. I wanted to keep his clothes kind of neutral. I don't know if he's a bug boy or a fairy or an elf, but I didn't want him to stand out too much. I don't know why. So that was the gray, and then I used black on the perimeter just to keep the left side of everything in the shadows consistent with the vines. So as you can see with the leaves, I did relatively light layers at first because on the picture you can see I made some indications of veins and different designs on the leaves. So I wanted to be able to go over the top of it with darker colors, which I was able to with this set. Now right about here, I realized I wanted to get this video out by Monday like I tried to do. And I had a big party to go to this weekend, and I had to move, so I had to speed things up at this point. And so you are not seeing my best coloring here, but it was kind of good because, and you'll see it later, I was going really fast toward the end, and I made the biggest mistake I think that I ever made in a video. And I knew that well, I thought at one point that it was that was it. There was going to be no video on Monday, and you'll see what I mean later. So right about here, I started, like I said, going much faster, and I just had to wing it. Like I really wasn't thinking too much, and it made it a little bit more complicated because I was not used to these yet. Now, right about here also, since I was in that hurry, I started to say, I do want some texture on these vines. I wanted it to look like the moon was coming in from the right-hand side and casting some shadows. So this is where these crayons worked with me, because if you push a little harder, you can definitely get more detail and more color out of them, as you can see here. These were fun to use. And like I said before, they feel good too. And now here's the crazy thing. This whole 24 set was only $4.49. Now here's another method. I mean, it's still turpenoid, but you can see right there, I dipped the tip of that blender into the turpenoid, and it was actually really nice to use that way. It felt like I got a little bit more control, and I was able to get more intense details with this method. It seemed like it worked better. It helped move the pigment around a little bit and helped me get the results I wanted. Yes, it took a little bit longer, but totally worth it. So you can see how nice that vine looks. Now right here, I left this in, not because I did fantastic coloring, but you can see that the black isn't the blackest in the world. Now I just wanted to get some indication of mountains in the background. I kind of wanted it to be sort of fuzzy and soft feeling, and once again, I was going pretty quickly. There's about 4 different purples, I think 4 blues, several shades of pink, fuchsia, red, orange red. So the color choices were nice. There's also a black, a gray, and a white. The mountains don't look that wonderful in the background because the turpenoid is still damp, and that very strange little orange purpley area, I was not happy with that. So that was another mistake, but not nearly as bad as the one you're going to see later. It was the shape of things to come. Okay, so how I decided to do the clouds here, I used one as a lighter purple, sort of like a lilac-y, and it looks like I'm coloring the top of the clouds, but what I'm actually doing is making the area behind the top of the clouds dark. And that yellow, now the yellow was the only thing that I was unhappy with in the whole set. And even toward the end, I came to like it in some areas, but still I wish there was one shade lighter. Anyway, so the yellow is going at the top of the clouds, and the purple is actually in the area behind the clouds to make the yellowy and the white parts stand out more. The pink is actually coming off of the purple part above, meaning the purple parts behind the how do I explain this? The purple and the pink area is behind the billowy lighter part. And later on, I'll be blending the pink and the purple to make it a little bit softer. I kind of ran out of time, so that was the least part that I blended. But I think you'll be able to get the idea. And here comes the nightmare. I got this idea that I would make the sunset look progressively darker. So where the sun is setting behind the clouds, I thought it would be the yellow. And then above that, it would be the next shade darker. There was a little tiny shaving behind it, and I was just trying to remove it. So then the next shade darker again, and I kept on doing it, and then I went from orange to orange red to almost like a reddish maroon, kind of like the sunset would appear, the lightest area where the sun is still shining the most at the horizon, or in this case by the mountains. And then the higher up it got, the darker it would get, or the darker it would appear. So once again, a little bit of a hurry, and I wasn't being too neat. So you can see there is a nice variety of colors, but here comes the disaster. So I took turpenoid and took a nice big brush and started to blend it all in. So far, so good. So I looked at this and I was kind of like, you could see some of the areas are lighter and some are darker. So what was happening, and I wasn't even aware of it yet, if I pushed too hard or for too long, it blended too much and literally removed the color. I'm leaving this part in real time so you can enjoy the nightmare right along with me. So you could see that orange area right there that I went over. I realized, okay, that looks really bad. So I thought, you know what? Let me just try to blend in those other areas, and maybe I can, soften the whole thing up. And I realized I was picking up other colors. Unlike when you use turpenoid and colored pencils, this was picking up color left and right, and I was making it look blotchy, and I was picking up too much in certain areas. So then I had the brilliant idea of going over the whole thing in the other direction And I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, I just turned it all brown on the edge. And I thought, ugh, well, that's it. No video. So I said, let me see if it'll at least blend a little bit. So it looked a little better. And then I realized it kind of went through the paper. I was using so much Turpenoid at that point, I didn't know what to do. So you could see this looks pretty bad. So I didn't want to give up. So I figured I'd add more Turpenoid. So I added more and just started to really, really blend it because I figured it was ruined anyway. And that didn't look good either. So I took a paper towel and I just wanted to remove some of the excess Turpenoid because there was so much. And as I was removing it, it looked really nice behind the disaster. It sort of stained the paper a little bit and it looked kind of moody and interesting. So I started to try to be very careful around the little elf's face and around the vines. And as you can see, it's not perfect, but it was cool enough. So I kept on going. And then I actually really liked the way it looked. I can't say it's a masterpiece. I can't say it's amazing, but once again, you know what? Just keep on trying things because you never know what's going to happen. And could you make a mistake that's just unfixable? Sure. And maybe some people would consider this, still not the best thing in the world, but I was kind of excited about the results afterwards because the background looks really cool now for a picture that was pretty much ruined 5 seconds before. So I just kept on going and I added a little bit of black back to the bats because they kind of blended off a little bit, and I just kept trying to smooth things out and make it look decent. So I'm going to have to try that method with other things too, with colored pencils, with other crayons, other medium. So that was kind of neat. And maybe even with other paint. So back to the review. For $4.49, I would say these are completely worth it. And I would recommend them over regular Crayola crayons. I have no problem with Crayolas, but these were fun. They felt smoother. You could get, I would say, a little bit more detail just because they're not so waxy. Very fun. I would give them a thumbs up. And that's about it for now. So thank you for joining me for this review and huge mistake and coloring experiment. And I hope if you liked it and you want to see any more, you might follow me. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a little bell next to the subscribe below. If you hit the bell after you subscribe, it just means you'll be notified of all my videos and you won't miss a thing. So that's about it for now. So like I said, you will be able to find all the information about all the things that I talked about, the Turpenoid, the crayons, the Cume pencil sharpener that I highly recommend for these or colored pencils. And yeah, it'll all be in the info box below. And yeah, maybe you could give me a share if you liked it or a thumbs up. And I will be doing another video this week. I think it's going to be another review about a new pencil set that I received from a lovely company called Norberg and Linden. Yeah, if that's not this week, it'll be next week. So once again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate that you watch so much, and I hope you're all doing well during this time in the world. So thank you once again. I will see you soon. Bye.